Podcast hosts Gabe and Leo discuss topics that directly and indirectly affect the LGBTQ+ community. Their generation gap has them seeing the world through very different points of view. They fight, they argue, they laugh, and they get off topic. But they make sense. Most of the time. Are you ready for this episode of Let's Talk Trans? Well, let's get started. Alright, hey, welcome to our Sunday night episode of Let's Talk Trans. This is your host, Gabriel. Unfortunately, Leo will not be joining us tonight, and he has decided that he's going to step away from the podcast, probably on a permanent basis. I think I can probably wrangle him in a few times, but you know how teenagers get. They get bored, something doesn't, jive with them very long. They're teenagers. They're like, squirrel moments, massive squirrel moments. So you're going to have to deal with me for a little while. I do expect that I will be able to wrangle Leo or, Kai into a podcast every once in a blue moon. Going to be doing a couple of pre-recorded episodes with special guests. And hopefully just kind of keep the mojo going. So I really, really hope that you continue to listen in. We'll have to change the intro a little bit, maybe. I don't know. And I definitely can't argue with myself. So we'll see what happens. Still planning on doing a podcast with Majestic Essence in the near future, talking about the history of transgenders and transgender individuals throughout the, like I said, the scope of history, whether it's, American history or world history. And keep going with that. Like I said, we're going to keep going. So it was a rough week. I won't lie. I had a very, very rough time at work. I think I finally had my first kind of transgender, I guess, altercation. My boss, who has said he was supportive, understood completely, but, has misgendered me on multiple occasions in front of me and behind my back. Kind of, I don't want to say called me out, but made some accusations about me at work, my ethics, that I did not approve of. And needless to say, I ended up going to the supervisor about that one. But that is definitely not the reason for the podcast tonight. I just, needed to, I don't know, I guess I'm calling him out. I'm calling him out online. Not like he listens, but whatever. You listen, and the thing of it is that I know that a lot of us, members of the LGBTQ+ community have dealt with something like that. And that's kind of why I bring it to the attention. Because it's not fair that anyone would be called out based on their gender. Or based on their religion. Or based on their sex. Or based on their skin color. Or anything else. I mean, that's why we have anti-discrimination laws. But unfortunately, this happened this week. And it was, like I said, it was kind of gut-wrenching. And I talked about transferring locations. And like I said, my boss's boss said, how about if you hold off on transferring for a couple months and see what I can do? And fortunately, I'm blessed on this one, but my boss's boss is part of the LGBTQ+ community too. So I've kind of got someone who's not going to put up with it any more than I will above me. So it'll be nice. So we'll see what happens with that. And we'll go from there. So anyway, for those of you who are not here in PA, it was a fabulous day on Friday. It was 75 degrees. I did take a half a day with everything else that went on for the week, and I enjoyed it immensely. And then yesterday I actually got to start taking pictures when I'm not working as a teacher, and I'm not doing podcasts and a million other things. But I'm a photographer, and I'm dying to do some LGBTQ+ community photography. I just haven't figured out how I want to do that. But anyway, I got to do semi-pro football yesterday. And now I do high school sports. That's no big deal. This was completely different. I don't know what I expected, but I definitely didn't expect what I got. The field was smaller, not only in width but also in length. I kind of figured semi-pro ball, these guys, trying to get into the NFL and what have you, would play on a regulation field, and they don't, and I don't really understand why, but they don't. And that was a lot of cussing going on. And it was funny too, because I had been introduced as Gabriel, the president of the association, is respectful and, wholeheartedly approves and got me this little side thing going on. And he introduced me to the team as Gabriel and said, "This is your photographer. Kind of use him as you like." And I get on the sideline, what have you. Not they're cursing. They're it's bad. F this and MF that, and basically all the words I'm not allowed to say on the air. And every single time one of them would look at me, they'd go, "Oh, sorry." I was like, "Nah, don't worry about it, man. I've said worse." But it was funny to see the reactions because they're like, "Oh, shoot, that person's supposed to be taking pictures of me and making me look good, and here I am, just foaming at the mouth with all these nasty words." But anyway, all right. So that was my squirrel moment. I got it out, and only took a couple minutes. What I want to talk about tonight is something that is near and dear. I've been threatening to talk about it for a while. I finally got all my ducks in a row and all my little, religious things lined up. So that's right. Tonight we're going to talk about the LGBTQ plus community and the Bible. Primarily transgenders and homosexuals in the Bible. The reason being is a lot of people have asked, a lot of people wonder if you're transgender or if you're gay or if you're lesbian or asexual or demi, are you going to heaven? Okay, well, all right, let's just start right there. Rule number 1, okay, no human being can tell another human being whether or not they're getting into heaven. Period. That's not our call. We're not the judge. We're not the ones. We're not judge and jury here. No human being is, okay? Your entrance into the afterlife, whether it's heaven or purgatory or reincarnation or whatever your choice is, that's not up to you. It is up to you, but it's not up to you. It's not all right. It's not up to the person across from you who judges you. It's between you and that divine being, the God, or I shouldn't say the God. It's up to you or God or whomever you, Allah, or whoever you believe in. And the reason why I mention Allah is because I am going to discuss Christianity, primarily Catholicism, and then I'm going to lump all the other denominations together, and then the Islamic religion or Muslim religion. And the reason why I'm going to do this is not to piss off anybody, but my exposure at work allows me exposure to both. So I have spoken with pastors who are Baptist and pastors who are non-denominational, priests, chaplains, a beautiful, wonderful, wonderful sister at work, and I have exposure to an imam. And for those of you who don't know what an imam is, that's basically like a pastor or preacher, a religious leader of the Islamic culture, and it's IMAM. Anyway. And then I have students who are Islamic and they're adult, and the thing of it is that religion it's really odd. Some will say that it's their interpretation of the Bible that says one thing or another. Others will say that it's their personal belief. And I had one pastor, a chaplain, who avoided the question completely. When I sat him down, I said, "Hey, look, I want to talk to you about this, and I just, what's your opinion? What's your religious?" And he was more about nature versus nurture than he was whether or not, this was something that, my eternal soul was in question. Do I believe my eternal soul is in question? Absolutely not. Like I said, I don't have a firm grasp on my religious faith. I've long since not gone to church. I used to as a kid. I have a sermon on my phone I watch on Sundays typically, and I have access to I do have access, and when I feel the need to talk to a chaplain, I do. And the guys at work are really, really good about that, and they love listening to me, and they love talking, and so I'm good. But it comes down to my faith in God. And one chaplain made it abundantly clear that there's absolutely nowhere in the Bible that says anybody in the LGBTQ plus community is going to hell based on the fact that they're part of the LGBTQ plus community. And he said that, and then and I'm not part of the LGBTQ plus, so I'm not biased. He said, but there's nowhere in the Bible where it says this. Now, what it does say in the Bible, and it talks about it in the Old Testament, is Sodom and Gomorrah. And for those of you who are not religiously aware of the town of Sodom and Gomorrah, it was a town in one of the books of the Bible, and that's exactly how far I take it. And the town was literally riddled with homosexuality. And it wasn't just homosexuality, it's also bestiality. All right, so it was men sleeping with men, women sleeping with women, men sleeping with animals. So the thing was that in the Old Testament, which is where this story takes place, Christ had not come to save mankind yet. So you either followed the rules and went to purgatory and hoped, or you didn't and you went to hell. It was that simple. There was a very set... and these rules consisted of not working on Sundays, women belonging to men, don't touch pigskin. A lot of these rules, the Islamic culture still follows. So this was a very different, think of this as like the Dark Ages of the Bible. And so this is kind of one of the few places where... I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Not my train of thought, I lost my word. This is one of the few places where homosexuality is discussed. And what happens is, anyway, for those of you who don't know, what happens is God sends a young man and his family to try and talk some sense into the people, and when they don't, God destroys the town, period. Anyway, Christ comes and, I don't want to say eradicates the Old Testament. He doesn't. There are still rules that, they expect people to follow. But he gets rid of some of these more ridiculous rules. Now, he doesn't go into detail about which rules are ridiculous and which ones aren't. But he says point blank that as long as you love me with your heart and soul, and you do the best that you can, this is in Luke, if you love me with your heart and soul, that's what you're judged on. When you pass away, you will be judged on how much you loved me. And like I said, this is one of the pastors who talked to me, and we were talking about this, and he was very adamant about it, that his idea is that if you love God, you're going to follow these rules. Okay? That doesn't mean that not following them automatically puts you in hell. Because let's face it, everybody breaks a commandment. Everybody sins. Everybody lies. Everybody cheats. Everybody has coveted something. Whether it's the neighbor's car or the car on the lot, whether it's more money in our bank accounts, everybody does something. It doesn't change the fact that you love Christ or whatever. So, if you are a part of the LGBTQ plus community and you are, you can't control that. That's not something that's technically, in whether it's, again, according to the other pastor, whether it's nature versus nurture, that is divine design. So, and that was the other thing that we talked about, was divine design. Now, this kind of goes into the other pastor's conversation. He said nature versus nurture. Some scientists believe that in neonatal state, a child, we know this, a child's sex organs are developed very early on. And then later on, I want to say it's about month 6, a baby is either they get a burst of testosterone or they don't. Okay? That burst of testosterone, male. Or, masculine. We'll say that. No testosterone, feminine. Okay? Then you have children where it doesn't really, fit in. They make it a little more testosterone or a little less more, or, and something like that. And so that comes into play. Nobody's ever going to go, hey, excuse me, man, can I test your baby while they're in you and see whether or not, no. So that is the nature part. Does it happen naturally? Are babies with female sex organs getting bursts of testosterone in their bodies? And in some cases, we see that with women who develop polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is an abnormal amount of testosterone in their bodies. Abnormal meaning abnormal compared to other women. Okay, I myself, I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. I have always had more testosterone in my body than